think he's going to get every single thing he wants done, because that never happens. But do I think he's going to get a significant part of his plan and his strategy executed? Yes, I do.
Mr. Biden wants America to go net zero by 2050. To get there, he plans to make US electricity carbon-free by 2035, so coal is out and renewable power is in. Fossil fuel subsidies will go, and there'll be cash for electric vehicle infrastructure. He plans to give 4 million US buildings a green makeover. It is an ambitious agenda, and the Biden team knows there will be pushback.
We're talking about a really sort of almost a handbrake turn in how the economy works.
Rachel Kite is a sustainability expert who is Dean of the Fletcher School of Management at Tufts University in the US.
Carbon has been the lifeblood of the economy, and so it's going to require a deeply coordinated effort across the economic management of the United States in order to be able to get to the kind of speed of change he wants to see. It's the same problem that all countries face, but it has a particularly deeply rooted problem for Biden because of the way money works in politics in the US.
With a wafer-thin majority in the Senate, Mr. Biden can't be certain to get the cash or legislation he needs. If he's blocked, one strategy will be to tweak existing laws and regulations to effect change. In the international sphere, however, he has a freer hand, and the key test will come early in his presidency. Glasgow, Scotland, in November this year. That is when the next big international climate conference, COP26 in the UN jargon, is going to be held. With Biden in the White House, it stands a much better chance of making significant progress on climate change, says Christiana Figueres, the woman who negotiated the Paris Climate Agreement on behalf of the UN.
The new Biden administration is absolutely key to success at COP26. I have no doubt that they will reach out and they will begin to weave together a collaborative spirit for COP26, which has to be a spirit of increased ambition beyond what we have today.
America suffered some of the most extreme weather on record last year, with wildfires and hurricanes. The scientists warn time is short. The sooner the world starts cutting emissions, the better. President Biden aims to refashion America's policy on climate, and the world's too. His biggest challenge is likely to be keeping the American public with him.
That report by the BBC's Justin Rowlett. You're listening to the BBC World Service. I'm Julian Marshall, and this is News Hub.
This is the BBC World Service. How is an obesity crisis developing in temples in Thailand?
It's early morning in Bangkok. Thai Buddhist monks are leaving their temples to seek alms. This daily practice of giving and receiving food creates a spiritual connection between monks and Buddhists. The food takes care of the monks' physical health so that they can concentrate on the spiritual well-being of the nation.
I offer the main course items and desserts. Then I receive blessings from them.
So why are 1 in 2 Buddhist monks now obese?
City life is full of rush. It's impractical to get up at 5 o'clock to cook food.
I'm Suchira Maguire, looking at why this is happening and how this obesity crisis is being tackled in Thai temples.
Obesity crisis in Thai temples at bbcworldservice.com/documentaries.
A reminder of our top story this hour. Tens of thousands of people in Moscow and cities across Russia have rallied in support of the jailed opposition leader Alexei Navalny. Hundreds have been arrested. Our correspondent in Moscow, Sarah Rainsford, told us why.
They've come out because of Mr. Navalny and his faith, what's happening to him, but also because of what that says about the system here. People have said they want the system to change. That means Mr. Putin and all he stands for, of course. And Mr. Navalny, Alexei Navalny, is very much the sort of symbol of resistance to that system.
In other headlines, Russian and Turkish forces in Libya appear to have ignored a deadline for the withdrawal of foreign fighters, and the celebrated American broadcaster Larry King has died at the age of 87. More on that in just a moment. You're listening to the BBC World Service. I'm Julian Marshall, and this is NewsHour. Within the past hour, it's been announced that the American broadcaster Larry King has died, aged 87. He'd been hospitalised with COVID-19. A statement on his official Twitter feed said he'd always viewed his interview subjects as the true stars of his programmes and himself as merely an unbiased conduit between the guest and audience. In 2015, he gave this interview to the BBC's Evan Davis about his career and his interviewing style.
58 years of interviewing. I did many debates, watched a lot of politics. At the crux of it, politics is a tough game. I want your job, you want my job, and we're asking people to vote for us. It's ego-driven. It's always been that way.
I mean, not only have the politics changed over the decades in the US, interview styles have changed. The interviewers they'll put themselves in front of has changed. We get a lot of, I suppose, hard interviews in some decades. Then the politicians went for a more chat show style. Now they seem to end up on late-night comedy shows.
I don't mean to boast. I thought that my style, everyone's style is their own. You learn more. In other words, if you ask good questions and you elicit thoughtful answers, you learn more about the person. If the interview's hot, if I begin an interview by saying, "Evan, why'd you do that?" I make you defensive. That may be thrilling television, but you don't learn a lot. I learned that the more I drew back, asked good questions, listened to the answers, cared about the guest, the biggest compliment you could get, Sinatra once said, you make the camera disappear.
Because sometimes people say, "Oh, Larry King, too softball."
I've never understood the softball question. When I've been told that, I ask, well, give me an example of a softball. What is a softball question? And I've never heard a good example. In other words, is a softball question, what is a softball would be, I love you. I've never said that. I don't know what that means. To me, there's one or the other. Do you ask good questions? Do you ask shorter questions so that the guest can talk? Do you listen to the answers? And do you follow up based on what the guest said?
Okay, so this is interesting.
That's the role.
This is useful for a relative rookie compared to a very experienced interviewer. One of the ways in which I think people distinguish is an open question, tell me why you did this, or a more closed question, did you do this because of X, yes or no?
The problem with a "did you" is all I can say is no. See, if you say "did," I can answer no. Answer me anything beginning with "did." Anything beginning with "did."
Well, it'll be...
Say it.
It'll be
Ask
yes or no.
question.
I know, it is.
No, I don't want to know. I don't want a yes. I want a why. So in other words, I want to be a little kind of dumb. My friend Herbie said the secret of my success was being dumb. Why did you do that? What do you mean by that?
Larry King speaking to the BBC in 2015. Well, one of the first tributes came from the Russian President Vladimir Putin, who noted his great professionalism. We're joined now by Scott Bryant, TV critic and broadcaster. And that tribute from Mr. Putin, somewhat surprising unless one knew that Mr. King spent the latter years of his career with Russia Today.
Yes, I mean, this was through his own production company and they were licensed, so he said that they were quite different, even though it was actually on the same channel. I think Larry's approach that he would